Welcome everybody to Saturday Connect and Collaborate. Speaking with Daniel Wilson, or Daniel, I'm going to kick it over to you because, like you said, agents, security,
That's
um,
right. Just,
right?
agent safety and where things are at right now and what we can do with agents and trying to focus on what's achievable and where we're at right now. So, and to do that, I want to start with a little bit of safety. And I know some people I see Greg Hutchins and we've talked a fair amount about this on our own, and I'm just going to share my screen and just begin with safety first and go from there. Okay. So, if you're in the United States, you can use this resource. Now the government's back open. We can actually go to the the actual web page, but it's the NIST Artificial Intelligence Risk Management Framework. And this playbook that they've put together is open and free for anyone to use. And it'll help your projects no matter where you are in the world. And it gives you a safe way to address and provide remediation and better planning for your AI projects, no matter what you're integrating and at what level. And if you start with something like this, you'll be better off than having it be an afterthought later down the road. So I'm going to paste in the chat the link for this right now. This is not a standard that can be audited. You can talk to Greg about that. And for international viewers, you have the ISO 42001 that is actionable and auditable and enforceable and will apply to what you're producing. And unfortunately, to gain access to this, you have to spend the $255. And then you have the ebook and you can do what you want with it. And so I need to buy that for myself, admittedly. But one of the things that's really important, I want to show everyone here before we get going, is on the NIST Risk Management Framework, you can download a PDF that's the same information as the CSV, the Excel, and the JSON. And what I've done is I've gone into ChatGPT and I created a GPT bot. In this case, we'll actually just look at one that's for a company of mine, okay? And what you can do is have it integrated into your bot in such a way that when you provide a situation or project specifications, your goals about what you're trying to build, you can have this baked into your bot already. Here, I'm going to go to edit and actually get a better view of this. And here you can see down on mine that I have the NIST RMF JSON in here. So anytime I approach a security issue, I can do that with this bot, and it will already have a lot of other standards baked into it that I need. And everything that I do is in step with that uh, framework. Okay. So I essentially built this into my own GPT, and then thereby can query all the things that you could search through here and what would, hey, documentation, we need to talk about, different things, right? And by plugging in different factors here, you can determine what you need to go to and how to do that. Here it takes you to how to approach it, what to do. And that takes some time to look through. And I just wanted to briefly mention this to everyone. I'm going to put the ISO link in here for you guys in the chat, just so you have it for your reference. It's from the official site. Okay, and so let's move on. So I'm involved in a group called agency.org, and it's spelled AGNTCY. And this is an open source organization, and they operate through Slack. The formative members are Oracle, Red Hat, Cisco, Dell, Google Cloud, several others, I believe. Yep. No, that was it. Anyway, so what it is building a safer web in managing all the agents that are going on. And this is going on right now, and it is the projected future is agent systems interacting with other agent systems or different platforms, different data sources behind different walls, and all for different reasons. And the way that that's implemented can be secure or really messy. And so it's important that we see a lot of this activity as the sandbox that it is and treat it as suspect and with zero trust from the get-go. Okay. And like I said, I love to integrate and make things work. Some of you know me as a real hacker and someone who builds things, and I'll certainly show that off today. But in the meantime, I'm going to put this link in the chat and show you a few other things. Should you want more information, take this link I've put in here. Oh, you've already got one. Thanks, Roy. Um, we're going to look at some stuff here. So if you look at their resources, they have an SDK, a software development kit, and it's for agent communication and orchestration. In here, they also have a fake company called the Coffee Agency. It's a demo, and a lot of people take stabs at doing different agentic work for it on the back end. And so we're all a part of a Slack channel, me and all these other developers. Okay. Um, so you can see all these resources that can really help put some good things into your head about what you should be thinking about versus some case studies out there and how people are approaching this and how some of these bigger companies are doing it and why and how. Okay. This is an open source effort. You don't have to pay any money to be a part of this. Okay. And why we need a new internet for AI. This has been a really big push in the last few months, actually. And so there's a lot of good, leadership in here talking about what we need to think about. And I'm not going to drill down into that right now. I'm just showing you guys this is great. Here's your use cases. Here's how SoftServe used agency to implement multi-agent intelligence systems for video monitoring. Okay. Any one of us could use an agent to be a moderator in a chat room. It could be on Discord. This is nothing new, but you can have an agent that works across your websites, that has authentication that can actually make sure that no one's, dropping tons of spam on a WordPress comment section, what have you. There's a lot of things you could do here. So I'm going to share these two links as well. Okay. Actually, let me start with this one first. So to further that point, Vjoy Pandy is a part of agency. And so John Crone's a friend of mine. We all share guests. And I have a lot in the background going with a lot of these people. So I'm going to put this chat link in. This is a really great podcast anyway. This episode in particular is really important to everyone here, I think, to walk away with something business useful and meaningful. Not a bunch of techno jargon, which I'm known for, and I'm going to try to stay away from today, okay? But I've got my weaknesses. So then also, I'm going to go ahead and share this link too. This is more about the future of where things are going for transformer architecture and agentic systems. And this is what I've been personally working on for a few years now with my system, being more cognitive memory based. And so, although this is a sidecar to today, I think it's really important for people to see this as in light of agents going on. Um, this is going to be really meaningful going forward. It's going to make things a lot more efficient um, in terms of different types of tool calls, different types of things we may or may not need as much because we're not overfitting as hard or we're not having to rely on things that we were before the same way. But that's a sidecar to today's talk. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But I'm going to come back on screen here for a second and talk about what I built and why and what sets it apart a little bit. So I really love having the ability to do research in a chat. I really like deep research. And before that ever was a reality and deep research and web search were a thing so much, I was building my own agent system to do this. And while it did pivot around a coding agent, you needed that to do the bigger research, to help you with math, to help you discern things out of documents, and to write programs to do it, not to postulate and guess and use inference, but to create procedural logic systems when needed and automate that for the sake of your research. And so this is before Notebook LM ever happened. And I had a system that worked very well. And it didn't even use a vector database. It used tabular database on the back end, just a SQL based database. And what set it apart is I allowed the AI and instructed the AI to auto journal how it came up with its postulations and how it got to where it got in a conversation. So you might have a timestamp with a date. You can think of like tables and columns in a spreadsheet, but we're looking at a database, right? And says, hey, here's the date, here's the category this conversation falls under, and that was actually automated too. But then it would copy the interchanges. Then it would have a summary section, but then it would auto journal. And that auto journaling was so important for context later to help wake up those neural networks for it to be in step to have episodic memory in a way, like like a limbic system in our brain manages our knowledge. Okay. So I did this to great effect. And eventually all that changed and it got shut down. And that's a longer story. So since then, I had to rebuild this. In between rebuilding it and being here today, I joined MIT. Led a lot of different cool efforts with my cohorts and a lot of other research that's out there now, that's going around about new types of memory systems. And so what I'm doing is definitely behind closed doors and secret, and it's not available right now. I am going to share it today. It's the more functional side of this, that is more agentic and more in line with an easier to approach interface for research. Something that melds both the capabilities of a coding system like VS Code. Some people know what it is, some people don't, but you're going to see here in a minute. And a standard chat platform, but with tabbed browsing. So everything I built was open source. Most of what I use is local AI models that run on my own hardware. But the exception to that is that I like to use Ollama's cloud, which I pay $20 a month for, and it gives me access to their compute systems more securely even than OpenAI, and way cheaper actually. And I'm using all these other open models that I'd like to use for coding. I can use the big DeepSeek models. I can use the 1 trillion parameter Kimi 2. That thing's huge, okay? It's insane. But it's really good for medical diagnostics and other things. Its corpus is huge, right? So, but I have found this fine balance between using an agentic approach for research. And there are systems out there that you can pay for this. And just recently this week, I don't have the link on me, but there's one place you can pay $200 for one research project, and it will do 6 months of work with a cloud, with like basically an agentic swarm of scientists that all share one whiteboard. So all the findings are shared by all of those agents, and then they work from that. Um, and it works for like a day or so, right? But you might waste time, you might waste tokens, it might go down wrong rabbit holes, but it does get quite a bit done. Okay. So I love that. I love tools like that. Again, I came up with what I built before Notebook LM came out. And when it came out, I was like, oh, I'm so mad because of what happened to me with OpenAI and things stopping and being taken away and whatever, people being shut down. I'm going to share my screen. And this is a lot of hard work, and there were points where I might not have shared it. It used to be just a simple tkinter interface on the computer, very dull, very plain, very much like a prompt, very much for a coder. Okay. So I'm going to share, I'm going to show you what I've built. So this is using Node.js as the backend. And as you can see, you have tabbed browsing right here in the middle of the screen. And these conversations I could take and say, oh, I want to change the color on that, and now that tab's colored and I can keep up with it separately, right? And so I'm doing deep research in two different ways on my system. And not only do I have all these conversations and the ability to tab through or move tabs around or pin them or close them or whatever, but I can export whole, tables as tables. I can take and save different types of file types and convert it however I want to PDFs, documents, HTMLs, MD, entire conversations. I can even go in and fork a conversation off. And instead of being, like, oh, let's muddy up the conversation later, I could come into something and say, you know what, let's branch into a new chat, and it will copy that conversation off wherever you wanted to fork it off and put it in a new chat. Now, OpenAI has this too. They actually support this. And I was like, okay, great. We're all thinking the same. So I find it really valuable. Aside from that, I can actually run code inside of my cells. So if I clicked on this play button, let's see if it's a worthy app or not. It might not do anything. Oh, it did, and it was a screensaver behind this. I'll run something else. We'll do, let's see if we'll do this one here. That one maybe broke too. We'll see. Oh, here it is. So it's a data explorer. So it's running right from the browser, but on my local computer. Okay. I wanted to make a web interface because I wanted the look feel of it. My friend Monsif and I have decided it should definitely be a standalone app, and I agree, but I wanted something that had the capability of possibly being a remote interface for somebody. So here's what I'm going to show everybody that's a little different. So I can break away and just go full screen with this and have a lot of room to look at and work and type. I could come down here and do web searching with different types of reasoning capabilities depending on the model I use. I have three models going right now at the same time. One of them is ChatGPT OSS 120B on the cloud. That lets me do special web search through OpenAI if I want, and I can turn that off. I can make it not as, long-winded or whatever if I want. But I also have my own web search capabilities, my own deep research that I built from scratch that use open source tools in the back end that are private and anonymous. So no one's snooping those web searches unless they're just looking at my IP address, and that would be the exception. Okay. I'm not using a VPN here. So one of the cool things here I'm going to break out is some of you will note this kind of looks like VS Code. This kind of looks like, this is here you got a utility panel over here. That could actually just be another conversation later if I want. There's a few things I'm working on at a time here, so I'm not going to boil the ocean this week. But as you can see, I just hit a layout button and now I'm looking at outputs of code, debugging, terminal output and access, ports being forwarded, and it works like VS Code and it works like Cursor, it works like Codex. In fact, I have my own Codex over here, and look at this. So on the side, I have a fourth model running, and this is on the cloud. We're going to make a new prompt for it. We're going to give it a simple task. We're going to say Python graphic toy be extravagant. User controls effects via Xbox handle connected to USB. Escape key to exit. Be creative. I want it to be long-winded about this. I have it in agent mode right now, and it's just going to launch right into operating and running the script. So here you can see it's thinking up here, and it's starting to get some tasks together. I have several versions of this, and while it's thinking, I'm going to bring one of them up. Here's one that's already been baked, and you can see it was a really extensive plan, and you can see the steps it was going to take and process. You can see timestamps. You can see progress. I make it auditable, and I can make it something that auto logs and is encrypted. I can do this for other types of research and not just coding. I can do this in different environments with particular ISO minded, processes in place and provide that remediation automatically. Hey, look at that. I've got a fully functioning app. Can you see that? That visible? Okay.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and that happened right there live and on screen. So I'm going to hit escape. Actually, watch this. It's got different effects. Let's see. It tried to do some things for us here. See if I can break my computer by hitting every button, right? Anyway, so that's that. So you can see that it came down here. Oh, it did fail because I exited though, right? I should have left it running. But it came down here, had a fix that needed to do, fixed it, launched it, and here it is, right? So that was pretty easy. But I've done some long-winded stuff on here too. And every day I work on it and it gets closer and closer to what I would like it to be. And I'm going to show you guys what something normal looks like. Okay. So that's my system. Hope you liked it. This is VS Code. It's free. You can download it on Windows and you install plugins on it for different things. Like it has Codex here. So we're going to open that up real quick. Give that one moment. So Codex is from OpenAI. It's really cheap, and that's why I like to use it. I do pay for Cursor, which is right here. And on the right side, I can use Claude or Composer One. And here on the left side, I'm using Codex. But here in VS Code, it's a plugin. All of these are pretty much VS Code plugins. They use VS Code backend to operate. But these agent systems are really interesting because you can task them to more than just coding. And you can get them to build things for you that aren't standard, for these larger software projects. One of the systems that I like that I want to show off today is called Kline. And Kline works like Codex and like what I built and like Cursor. And it's a plugin that's free and open source right here for VS Code. I would like to show you guys what this looks like because it looks different than everything else. And so let's see if we can we're going to go to, we're going to open a folder here. We're just going to go right into, I'll make a new folder and we're going to say test meeting. All right, we're going to come into here and open that folder. That's going to be our project folder, okay? And we're going to give the same kind of output. I'm going to go to Kline. Excuse me, the same kind of prompt, okay? We're going to go to my prompt over here. I'm going to copy and paste that out. So I have a lot more cross integration inside of my research platform, by the way, and maybe I'll get into that another time, but here we're going to see how this works. And right now we have it in agent mode. See, you have plan mode and act mode. We're going to put it in agent mode and let it just go to town. It's going to start acting right now. So I'm going to send that. And what's really cool, everybody, is you can take a photo or a screenshot of something and give it to the agent and say, build me an interface that looks like this, and it will do it. And we get really close. And you can give it specific, instructions to say, stick to it like this, don't use these libraries, because it's in Python. And if you're networking it, you don't want to use pickle because that's not safe for networking. Now watch this. Now it's starting to get things together. Okay, API requests. Look at this. Very nice. And at the very top, there's a progress bar. And it will fill this thing up with little squares eventually that talk about what it fixed and what it needs to fix. And you can watch it eventually fill everything out. But right now it's coding with a split screen so you can see the diff. It lets you see the difference between two similar codes. Here, we're going to watch this go for a minute. I really like it to be verbose. I really like to see what's going on. But I like it to be collapsible and easy to approach too, like it's doing. Oh, it had an error. Cannot read the properties. So it's handling that error right now. This is what agentic coding looks like. So everybody out there, this is some of what it looks like. And I just happen to love this tool so much. So, and I've already auto approved everything. So it's just going at it. I've given it the ability to create new files, create folders on its own, execute those files, install libraries. Hey, look at that. Cool, huh? Let's see if it's working. Yeah, I'm hitting buttons on my Xbox controller right now. It's not that extravagant though, but still it built something. Okay. Anyway, there you go. Right. That was pretty basic. And I was using a basic model for it, but here it's done. Oh no, it's still working it out. Oh yeah, task complete. There we go. So isn't that nice? It's easy to understand some of the stuff. It is human readable. You can audit what happened. You can see on my system how long things takes. They don't do that here. But I like to use timestamps. Let's go for a minute. Oh, it's still trying to do more. Yeah, go ahead. It's really important that when you have a serious project that you start with a plan mode and you give it some constraints. I know everybody out there is not a developer or will ever be or plan on using something like this, but the same system can be applied to research and other things. And in the background, agents are doing stuff like you're seeing right now. And I think that a code agent like this is a really good example of what agents are doing. Mind you, through different interfaces and for different reasons, which I have ready to show you as well here after this. Let's see, it's 11:32, so I'm mindful of time. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts while I'm letting this thing roll?
Craig was asking, is that running a local model?
This is not. I have it running Quinn 3 coder 480 billion on the cloud. And so while we're waiting for this to do,
I
actually,
meant your
let me,
personal one too, just to be clear.
my personal one can choose whatever's local.
Yeah, okay.
My personal one's using the cloud for, yeah, this thing's going to keep rolling. My personal one is using, I happen to be using GLM 4.6 cloud on Ollama, but if I want to change it, I can, and we can do that right now. Okay. So let's do that. Let's take it there and let's go and use a local Quinn model. It might be slow. Heck, let's just use Llama 3.1 and see what happens. All right.
Mhm.
That should be fun. Actually, I have a local version of this. Okay. So you know how you have M2 memory hard drives that you can put on your motherboards? You have like a 2 terabyte M2 memory card as a hard drive. I have a model set up with special arguments to not load into the VRAM or the RAM. It actually stays in the M2 memory. So let's try that out, see what we
Hmm.
get. Also, I need to be careful because it's not letting me set my I did a recent rebuild and it's all screwed up, so it's not letting me set my context window. But we're just gonna roll with it and see what happens in a new chat. Let me just fill here. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. So we'll just paste the same thing in. We'll give it the same prompt and see what a local model will do, right? I might have flaked out. Might have flaked out. You're watching some real Cybertruck moment happen here, folks. I don't think it's going to do anything. So I got to test that again. Maybe I should put it on another
I
local
threw
one.
the crazy demo question at you.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We're here to, you guys are here to break what I build, right? So, do that. Make a new one. Give it something to work with. See what we can do. It's using Git too, by the way. So I can come over here and look at commits that are being made on another pane. Look at that, guys. For you developers out there, I'll appreciate that. Here it's still thinking. So, anyways, I hope this is, kind of provides some kind of like tangible knowledge behind what agents are bouncing back and forth. It's some procedural framework in the background, waiting and listening and directing and reprompting behind the scenes and saying, "Oh, fix this, fix that, run this," and it's self-determining along that scope, within that scope that you give it. Um, you can give it a lot more access than I've given it. You could say, "Oh, use these folders, use, you know, um, dangerous access to the entire system." You can do some crazy stuff and allow it access to other software even, but that takes integration and that takes effort. I'm not going to joke around and say that's easy. This thing is still thinking. So while it's still thinking, let's move along.
I was thinking, Dan, let me ask a quick
Yeah,
question. Is there, I know that there's, I guess for lack of a better word, these low code, no code interfaces if we just want to spin up agents for work that we're doing, if we're not, developer.
yeah, this is right here.
Are there things you like more than others? Okay, right. Like this, yeah.
NADM. Yeah, I mean it's node based. Back like 2 years ago, locally, I would be using something like TensorFlow, or I forget what it. Maybe not TensorFlow. I forgot the name of it. It was a local app that was grid based like this. It's node based and lets you drag these boxes around real nice and easy, like you would on Figma or whatever. And
Hmm.
you're setting up tool calling. So you have this agent that you've built that's pretty much this generic agent, right? It's a tools agent. And it's like, oh, um, you know, when someone creates a user form, this agent kicks in and does a series of operations, right? So it's being fed from maybe a website, like a form on a
Right.
website. It's kicking into this. And then it's some anthropic model, let's say Claude, Opus, or Claude, whatever you want, right? Then there's a Postgres chat memory, so that's going to be a little database, right, to store that for that session and everything and be meaningful. Then here you've got Microsoft Intra ID, so it's a user, so get AI user, Jira software, so it creates a user. So someone's form is turning into a Jira activities, right? Is manager question true, false? Update profile, add to channel. There's different switches you could put in logic. Now, I'm not a Jira user so much, so I'm not here to preach about this, but this is how it would look to anybody else. There's a back end of stuff that's going on. You won't see happening. That's what I'm showing today with what I'm doing. But on the front end, I could build a tab. I could put a button on what I've built right now. I could say, hey, just go to the workflows button and bring up a workflow panel that lets you do that and then connect to all those things just like you'd see here, but on my platform, or whatever I would build for somebody else bespoke for some company, right? Because I build this for people. So
Got
if
it.
you
So
need
then,
some, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's what you need. I can, that you can curtail, you can cater to that. Right?
are you building like an 8N interface? Like when you're building agents for clients, do you kind
I
of build
want
this
to.
out to let them?
It would connect easily with this. It's easy to integrate. So my back end of logic could be controlled by the front end of N8N, right? So you could say, well, I want to use a new window, Dan. I want an N8N window on this platform. I'd be like, okay, cool. Let me bake that in. And then all of a sudden you're dragging and dropping tools in place and cross integrating through N8N, utilizing the logic system that is my coding agent and everything else underneath, right? That's how everything works. It's just however you want to connect and integrate. My concerns revolve around security, though, at this point, And so what I built
Right.
was specifically meant to be local, but this would be local too. N8N is something you run on your own. You don't have to pay money. When you pay money on N8N, you're paying for their hosting, right? Look at that, $20. They'll give you 2,500 workflow executions a month. one shared project, 5 concurrent executions, that's nice work, right? And it costs
Right.
money to do this, but it's if you use your own hardware, it's free, right? But it takes longer if you use your own compute. All right, and that's the
Right.
catch. So I use
But it
again,
also,
Mhm.
well, you also get more bang for your buck than like a Zapier, right?
Yes.
Like our registration system we had in Zapier. So somebody
Uh-huh.
registers on our site, then they complete it, then it goes um to maybe a Google Calendar. So that's one Zap.
Yes.
And basically,
Yes.
Google Calendar goes the other thing. It was like
Uh-huh.
four actions. These are only one action. So that 2,500 was like 10K for us because we're able to, you know, use one credit or one action in that 8N that would require four in Zapier. So I just think that some
Yep.
of you are using some of these things. Now there are
Yeah.
people here that may not know what Dan's talking about or what, right? Or just want to get it for your business. So we're going to figure out
Right.
how we
Right.
can
Right.
support you guys, right?
Hmm.
And just help with the workflow. But this is
Right.
great, Dan.
Yeah, to bring it back home, I mean, this has got to be human understandable and engageable. And what pain point can you address? And is it worth it, right? And I think that a lot of us that work in promotions, SEO already, are like hot for this, right? There's so many great things that you can do to make posts, to put things together for you from reporting, and then you look at it and go, yeah, okay, I'm the human in the loop. This looks good, and then send it out, right? And maybe you mass mail that, who knows? Maybe you automate that, but you get to interject yourself in the flow of logic. And it's so important to be a part of it. You don't want to automate everything. There's certain things that are safe, certain things that aren't. Go look at the news. I don't have to tell you. You
Right.
know, like it's just incredible. So again, a lot of times I will shy away from using platforms like this because I'm building my own and I have my own like rebellious nature of like, oh, let me just finish my product before something else comes along. But that's my life. That's my plight right now, right? So you can self-host your own N8N and it's free. There's a Docker installation guide. I'm going to go ahead and drop this link in the chat for everyone who's interested and who hasn't seen it up close. Glad you like this, Craig. Um,
And by the way, Dan, real quick, did you look at that Marble Eyes that came up
I
during
did. We did.
9000?
Yeah, we did. We mar
I mean, just
marble.
for somebody that wants to get something going right away, and if they're just more of a marketer or not going to be, yeah, just, oh, I saw when you put in MAR, there it is. Um, Interesting though, right? I mean, just as
Yeah.
until you can get caught up, if I want this on tomorrow,
Yeah.
then maybe engaging somebody to build more of a custom. I mean, what do you think of things like this?
I think it's great. I mean, I was even attracted to it and I do things for myself, but the more I thought about it, I was like, why reinvent the wheel for some things if I want to use something outside, to manage some stuff. I mean, they really I think this guy's in London or
Right.
Australia.
No,
I
he's a
forget.
lot London,
London.
London.
Okay,
And
yeah,
it's
that's right. That's right.
PR, and I think that was attractive
And
too.
it's really, it's one side. It's like there's no real customization on the outset. There is on the inside though, but it's basically these things you're seeing right here: receptionist, legal assistant, SEO blog writer, assistant, community manager, and then we're back to lead generation. That's it. So but for $17 a month on an annual term, it's really cheap. And this guy that we had in our call that day, he actually said, I stopped going to a human because of this, sadly. I was like, wow, okay, we got a testimony here. So it worked for him. But we
Right.
also talked about GDPR and some other things and like, what would it be for an outside business to use this? Is it too risky as an American or anyone in North America? What's the deal? So I really think that a general overall education on all these platforms behooves everyone to get
Right.
a spoonful's perspective on this and especially like this podcast in particular. I mean, look, what he talks about in this is amazing and it's just really the human in the loop is so incredibly important here. We're not here to automate ourselves out of the picture. We never want that. But again, I mean, it's got to work in business. Like science and academia are one thing because they are a sandbox. We are nerding out. We are computer people doing stuff. Some of us are hackers. But at the end of the day, you want something that's going to work and can address a pain point, right? So you go for your low hanging fruit every time. but and in a whole company. But as a personal user, I find that the tools that I build to help me to write and compose certain things or provide particular remediation are where that helps. And then I start to see, oh, I need an agent now. I'm starting to see my own needs for an agent in one place here or there. And so I invite you all to create a gap analysis for your operating environment and what you do and what could be expedited for you. Where would it help to have an assistant? If you could pay a human to do something that for you and money was no object and they could do that, would you train an agent to do it? And if that would help you. And my argument always is for the small business and the SMEs and SMBs is that agents might make things possible for you and help level the playing field for you instead of replacing anybody. You might not be able to afford the staff to get going, and you might really need this addressed sooner than later. You might need that help. And so it makes sense. But there's no reason to go engaging in a system if you can't verify that it works good for you, if you can't kick the tires on it, if you don't feel safe, if it's running around with your data and credentials or quite possibly someone else's information because client data wasn't, anonymized or whatever. So there are considerations. And that's why I always come back to the very beginning of this conversation, governance. Just start with a good foundation of governance. Wherever you are, look up the rules. Whatever country you're in, look up the standard, look up what people are doing and what is required and what isn't. And don't try to get away with anything. Just try to build smart for what you might have to answer to later. Um, and you'll find that I think that the companies that provide that type of service are easier to approach and find at that point. You just got to change your perspective a little bit to know who to look at. Like right now, everybody uses AWS, Cloudflare, Google Cloud Services, Oracle, Azure, like I just did a webinar the other day about repatriating your data and going sovereign and getting away from the leaky bucket and the security risk and other people's policies and rules. That is the cloud, depending on your region, right? I work with the world. I work with everybody. I don't want to be, you know, it makes some things fast and it makes some things possible. But ultimately, if you're mature enough and your company is mature enough, then you should own your own data. Um, Cloud is great for prototyping. Cloud is great for training models. But once you're done training it, you need to run it on your own hardware inference architecture. And think about that. We got 15 minutes thereabouts. I want to address that for a minute. It's important. If you're using a GPU to train, that's great. That's what you need to use. But an inference card, which is not a GPU, but still compute, runs faster for what we all use AI for, is inference. And it runs 50 times faster. Conversely, it takes 50 more times the amount of inference to train a model. So you really do need GPUs. But you should rent those out safely and securely, perhaps. And if you own your own, awesome. That's awesome. I love that. Let me get your number, right? Let's all work together. But honestly, inference is where it's at, and it's at the edge. So, and that comes to vision too, vision models. So I'm going to share on my screen. I'm going to go to hilo .ai. I'm going to share the link in here in a second too. This is important for everyone to see. There we go. We'll go to high-low. All right. So what these guys make, and here you'll be able to see in this video, runs at the edge. We're talking about stuff that's cool enough and low power enough to run on phones, tablets, laptops, whatever, right? Small devices, edge devices, Pi, embedded. So what happens here is they're doing, graphic, video analysis. This is what a lot of stuff runs on, and you can use this in factories for machines as well. I really am not into spying on people. I'm very much anti Big Brother, but we can't escape this technology gets used for a lot of things. I'm not here to make a conversation out of this right now. Let's talk about some fun hardware. So come over here. As you can see on my screen, these sticks that are blue looking, these smaller ones here, let's see. Some other stuff. Come on, bring up that card, guys. Where are we at? Let me get it up. Oh, they're still doing that. Hang on. Okay. Smaller things you can plug into edge devices, things you can plug into PCs that offer that type of inference compute. This one's tiny. But what you're going to see is a term out there is called TOPS, and that's tera operations per second. That's trillions of operations per second. This tiny little thing does 13 tera operations per second. And it's doing all of what you see here. Let's look at it. That tiny chip able to do all this live. Low heat to no heat, no sound, really no fans needed. A few of their cards will have fans out there, but they're extremely high power and they barely have. Look at that. There's nothing on that. That's amazing. So we're talking about cars, we're talking about, factories, places of safety, you know, on the edge. So you can do this. You can actually have complete conversations pretty quickly and do coding and everything else with these same chips. These are the people that Swiss Vault partnered with to provide that. And this is what I was talking about in Malaysia to help people better approach and usurp NVIDIA's dominance in the market. So I'm not anti-NVIDIA completely, but I think they waste a lot of money and that they burn a lot of environmental resources. So I have some things about that personally. There's a card I want to find here. These you can buy right now and slap into your PC as well. And they provide, I think, is it 40? Yeah, it's an M2 memory socket. So I use this like a hard drive already. But these are very fast. 40 tera operations per second. And they come with SDKs for developers as well if you'd like to get really deeply involved. But this is consumer hardware, and I'm so shocked that you can get it. I was talking about this months ago, and now I finally found like the best versions of it out there. Yes, here's the card that people would be more familiar with seeing. Here, this plugs into your computer, PC. Look, there's no fan on that, and it provides 208 tera operations a second at low power. That's extremely fast, everybody. And this card is only $250. You know how much an NVIDIA graphic card costs? So think about this. And they got several different vendors they work with to produce this in different formats, right? But they're a very approachable company, and I'm adding them into my list of math optimization, leadership. Like they're definitely leaders in this, and one of the reasons we work with them. But so, all in all, you're going to look at platforms and you're going to find places where you need to use someone else's compute, okay? And I'm not here to say, oh, you should use your computer for everything. You shouldn't. And not everybody's going to be apt to doing the stuff I do or setting it up. So if you pay money for compute somewhere else, like Ollama's cloud, you can get access to models that run on the cloud and are very fast. So here we have OSS from, ChatGPT. It's very capable, very beautiful for reporting. Quinn 3 for vision language model. Quinn 3 Coder, GLM. These are all tried and true. I use every one of these on a weekly basis. DeepSeek is amazing, and it doesn't spy on you. It goes through Ollama's system and gets computed and comes back to you. It's all encrypted what happens over there. Kimi K2, that's a 1 trillion parameter model. Look at that, 1T. That's huge. 256K context window. That's great. Okay. So also, I mean, what is it? We were talking about this the other day that you could use Google's compute. Google has their own agentic system and stuff, and you can use their models and choose between different ones. But again, it's not the same as using a different sovereign source. And a lot of people, they have, varying degrees of trust around Google. So right now you can use it for free and try it out with a limited access of, how many, queries you can make, but it's free. Okay. And the Pro is 20, which is what I pay for. And I barely get into it. Everybody, watch this. I come over to my settings. Look, I've only used 2.3% of my hourly today. Just in the last hour, my weekly is only 0.5. My premium requests are 0. I'm like barely scratching it, and I'm really using it a lot. So I think it's extremely economical. Also, you can let's see here. When you install Ollama, you need it to support your backend, your normal models and stuff. But it comes with its own application, and here, I'm going to drag it over here from another screen, and it lets you save your chats and have conversations. And if you said, oh, I want to use GPT OSS on the cloud, you get to choose that reasoning. You get to choose whether it uses the web or not. And I could say, oh, what is brain juice community and actually, you know what? Let's do something else. Um let's do what does witty and where are you based? LA, right, David?
That is our official address, although it will be changing soon to the Central Coast of California.
Okay, let's just see
But
what it
yeah, I
does with
like.
some high reasoning and not very much. Actually, gonna put your name in there, David. Oh, excuse me. I spell that right? Okay, I
Yep.
hope I did. Okay, here we go. And it does really great deep research through this system. While an OpenAI's system is what's actually handling the web interchange on their back end. So it's actually doing that research through there. But the model is living on Ollama's system. And so it's not quite working the same way. It's very different. And so a lot of my work, and while this is doing its thinking and searching through all these websites, that's what I've got mine set up to do. I have it also set up to deal with, um, that web research and I don't know why this interface doesn't have it right now. Let me get that out of the way. Anyway, I like to have switches in logic, but right now this is going to work really hard, but it's not going to dip into my credits on ChatGPT. So if you pay for ChatGPT, and here we are on a normal, I'll actually run through some of this stuff too. If you did a deep research, you only get to do 20 of them a month. Okay. This doesn't limit you to that, what we were doing. Okay. So back to Ollama, it's still chugging away and you really get what you're not even paying for it. So this is a really great shortcut around that limitation. We only have 5 minutes left. I want to say some things about agency one more time for everybody. So you look into that and just try to get your heads wrapped into that a little bit. Um, I don't have them up here anymore. So agency and everything we were talking about is going beyond static LLM prompts, planning, reasoning, and acting and iterating with agents with multi-step workflows. We went over safety and how it needs to be built into the agent design for controlling how tools are accessed, having your environment sandboxed and safe so they're not running around with extra credentials and they're very limited. Um, it makes me think of the asset tagging we were talking about yesterday, David. That was an amazing talk for digital assets, and I always thought about this a lot during it. Your oversight and interruptibility is important. That's why we want to have a lot of stop gaps in there where we can say, hey, I want you to, here, I can pause an operation or stop it, here, run, and continue from where we left off, right? Um, so you have guardrails that you build into it. Okay. That's really important. And you can make things how you need. You can add your own rules and limitations as needed. And when it comes to agent systems, it can be as simple as a text file that you specify by line. Um, Evaluating agents requiring new frameworks. Okay. So agency is helping with this too. So their traditional modeling benchmarks don't apply, and that's true. There needs to be a benchmark for task-based behavior evaluation with an emphasis on reliability and stability and controllability. That's why we're here today. It's exactly what I want to preach to everybody is like we can achieve these things right here by understanding a little bit of what's under the hood, kind of how those steps are taken, in general, and seeing different agents work today. But also, so the structured architectures here to cover planning modules out or memory systems, environmental awareness, feedback loops, and tools. These are all pillars of how agents work, no matter what you use. If you're using N8N, and no matter what kind of integrations you're building, it's all going to come down to a lot of these simple things. It needs to have and it must have safety, memory, ability to plan, ability to take notes. And so in our real world, we know software engineering use cases, research assistants, my favorite, data processing agents. I think we can all clean a few XLS files out there, right? And query some databases and data frame things a little differently. Cyber defense bots also, I love focusing on that. Business process agents are one of my favorites as well. Multi-agent orchestration is what agency is about. And then finally, the ecosystem shared resources community. So I think you guys should get involved in agency because there are open frameworks that help guide you. You're not flying in the dark and you have people out there who really know best in some cases, better than I do. Okay. I'm not a professional at this. I am a scientist, I'm a researcher. Shared taxonomies for agent types really help. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Common patterns and design practices help. And collaborative research and open knowledge we all deserve it. It's education, it's free. I'm not here to charge people, for this information. I want to share it. So that's it. This is my talk today. I hope that helps people. Um, I hope that provides some kind of insight into what you can do. Oh, actually, lastly, let me share this. Here's our results. Thanks, everybody. Here's our deep research results on Witty, Women in Technology International. That was originally the name, right? Is that correct, David?
Yeah, it was originally the name.
Uh-huh, right.
And
And
then we
then,
have Witty Los Angeles, and then we're
mhm,
based in Los Angeles, so that could have been some confusion.
yeah. But look at
But
these
that's all
links are
good.
real. Look, all the
Yeah.
research I just did from inside Ollama's secure platform with deep research on high and web search. Boom. I got everything in here. Program architect. I've got
And then if
what
we had fed in the new info, Daniel,
yeah,
right? I mean
uh-huh.
that then we could just continue to improve that
That's right.
local base.
Uh-huh. But every one of these citations are there. They're not dead links, is what I'm trying to tell everybody.
Right.
I've seen stuff come up with dead links out there, even
Yeah.
on ChatGPT, folks. So look, always question with zero trust, approach with zero trust on this. And I think you'll be better off. I'm gonna look at the chats here because I'm gonna have to go. I've got another meeting I gotta kick off to, unfortunately, working
Yep.
with Mark Hewitt, as some of you know.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but any last questions here before I've got to go?
Questions,
And
anyone?
definitely feel free to drop them in our WhatsApp chat. You're welcome, Becky. I'm really glad to help. Um, I know I'm overly technical, but it's as good as it gets some days
That's
for me.
right.
I'm so
We're gonna
sorry.
have
Uh,
yeah, we'll have more entry level. We have a lot of different
mhm,
AI sessions and think tanks throughout the week. But 5 o'clock, excuse me, 5 p.m. every Thursday. There's some
mhm.
great stuff there, Daniels. I've been trying to
Mhm.
wrap my arms around it. And
Yeah, and I want to give away as much as I can, and share it with people and give the code and like supply that to anybody out there who's interested. And ultimately want to bridge the gap for people who are not into coding. You should not have to know any of this stuff, okay? You should just be able to drag, drop, plan, validate, function, and iterate on that, and that's what I want for everybody. But I think looking under the hood helps a little bit to understand that race car, okay,
yeah,
and where that seatbelt could be put, and to be
for
safe about
sure.
it. Thanks for having me so much, David. It
Thank
was a
you.
delight to be here. I love everybody here. Love seeing everybody. Just always excited to be a part of these meetings every time I get a chance. So thank you so much, everybody.
Awesome. We
And I'll be
appreciate you,
catching
Daniel.
everyone soon. All right, you too. Take
Thanks,
care,
everybody.
everybody, and reach out if
Thanks.
you too. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
Have a
you.
great weekend,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
All
You
right. You too.
too.